So, wow. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Um, I'm now really, I'm looking back in my old research, which is my initial book that I re-released from 2018, where I respond to the OAG's 10, which is the Ohio Attorney General's 10 questions, which a few of them were about regrowing arms and limbs and legs and all that if you're born without them. Um, and I think, how would J Juice reverse different types of sexual orientations? And that I really, I did give substantiation to how certain things could mess with biochemistry. But I don't have my book. I actually ordered my initial book again because I gave it to somebody else. But I'm also remembering how I talked about the innate and the adaptive immune system. And even though I give more of a very superficial in my initial book about the innate and the adaptive, where the innate gives you like the blueprint and the adaptive is how the body adapts based upon the constituents of the environment, like chemicals and all that, and vaccines and whatever. But now I'm going a little bit deeper. Now we understand what monoclonal antibodies do. And the innate immune system is being messed with by the vaccines and by the antibodies. Okay? And so when the B cell memories, okay, so you have B cells in your innate immune system. So you have two sides to your immune system. You have the innate and the adaptive. The innate side of it has, there's two sides, the innate and the adaptive, and then there's the healing, the prostaglandins, okay? The innate slash adaptive have antibodies and program antigen. What is program antigen? Where you actually can bring in specific proteins that will cause the innate immune system to have memory and go after specific antigen by then inducing antibodies simultaneously. See, this is where it gets really crazy scientifically because a lot of things happen like together simultaneously, but you have to understand what triggers what, okay? And so when you have an antibody that is programmed to be like a memory in your innate immune system, to then trigger antibodies to go after that specific protein, and that protein is binding to your cells, and then what happens is an antibody goes after that cell that has that protein. It's like immunizing or weaponizing your environment against you, which is why people have food allergies, okay? Which is why when people have food allergies, they start getting inflammation, white blood cells, T cells, that then attack the body. And then the body then desperately tries to live, and that's when you feel the prostaglandins, which is the other side of your immune system, which is the healing side, of which biotech is trying to suppress. And so and then we are discovering obviously that the novel coronavirus was actually bioengineered. And yes, I could see how it has Sars antibody proteins, the COVID proteins, and then the H1N1 proteins that are all docked together. Because protein docking, which I learned about from an ex-boyfriend when a postdoc at UCSF, okay? When you're dating really, really, really intellectually smart people that are part of the architects of the system, they can't help but brag about their work because they're thinking that they're doing something revolutionary for the world, helping the world. So yeah, I picked the guy's brain, but I didn't know why I was picking the brain. I was just wanting to know because I wanted to understand the world that I lived in. Well, yes, protein docking. Protein docking is when you take in viral proteins, okay, and which then from the antibodies from different people who submit to these different testing, right? When we're doing those swabs in the back of your throat, they're taking DNA. And then when you test positive, they're taking those monoclonal antibodies from all different people, and then they go put them in a lab, and then these mad scientists are now binding them all together, bound by chemistry, and then they're using them in the payload of your vaccines. The vaccines are there's a name for it. Obviously, they're going to be injected. But anyways, so yeah, they're vectors. I knew it's like they're vectors. So the vectors of introducing those bound and those spliced and mixed proteins are going to be in the mosquitoes, because you heard about genetically modified mosquitoes. Those antibodies are going to be in the therapeutics. They're in the vaccines. They're going to be shedding from people who've been recently vaccinated. So in Georgia, Grady Hospital, hold on. They're asking for 100 volunteers for these vaccines from Moderna or Murderna. Okay? Because now they're saying that Trump is trying to fast track these vaccines. I'm telling you, Trump is purposely setting himself up to take the fall. To where the liberals and the Democrats are going to blame Trump, which they're already doing. You're already seeing the stage being set. And he's purposely taken the fall. He knows his role. I know what role he's playing. He's playing the role of I'm like a narcissistic whatever, which he could very well be. But then he's also playing the role of, well, we got to have everybody come back to normal, open up everything, fast track the vaccines, promote the therapeutics, all of this. And so right now I'm looking at September, October, November, December is going to be, yeah, like I keep saying, it's going to be a shit show, right? Because the fact that these antibodies are going to be shedding, and then everyone who has predispositions are going to have to readjust to the environment, and then yes, you're going to see a lot more death, of course. So now it makes sense, and now I can prove that they are actually programming these monoclonal antibodies to where it is mutating and affecting your innate immune system, to where then the adaptive immune system sends off antibodies and then causes then weird things to happen, why you have different lumps in different places, why you have cancer disease and chronic illness, why you have Hashimoto's and different thyroid issues, why you have to take your, get a mastectomy or get organs taken out. Okay? I mean, we are living in like Frankenstein's world right now. Like, we are literally living in Frankenstein's world. The night of the living dead. That's exactly the world that we're living in. And when you actually look at how the human body works, what they're doing with these antibodies, and what the role of antibody, it's like in plain sight. What is antibody? Antibody. And they're advertising it everywhere. I mean, you hear about it, on the commercials. Well, we're trying to do therapeutics and all these revolutionary antibodies and all this research about antibodies. I mean, they're saying antibodies. And so it becomes something that you're used to. And so you don't think much of it. You don't even look deeper in what antibodies are. Oh, yeah, they're just trying to program the bad stuff. Well, what makes a virus bad? Oh, because it causes pain. And that's where all of you are under the impression that promoting antibodies is a good thing because it stops the pain. Do you realize when somebody dies, they're not in pain anymore? You got to make that connection. When somebody dies, they're not in pain anymore. Okay? So when you are promoting a pain-free lifestyle, you either are 100% healed and you're able to, I mean, I can't even say that I'm 100% pain-free all the time because I have to adjust to the new environment every single time, but I have enough of the nutrients and enough of all of the electrolytes and the minerals and all that, the proteins, to be able to handle and adjust to the new environment. But those that are still immunocompromised, they're not going to live a pain-free lifestyle. And their whole premise is to live a pain-free lifestyle, which means that they're not going to do jelly juice because they don't want to feel the evolution. So they're going to try to immunize themselves. They're going to try to deaden parts of their body bit by bit. And so back then when the vaccines were not as, people weren't like anti-vax, they weren't making the connection between disease and vaccines, the payload in those vaccines were very mild. There were probably very, very weak antibodies in there, so you didn't really feel the transition, the evolution, right? And if you did, it was so mild, it was really just non-existent. And so that's why there wasn't really any huge issue around the vaccines until people started making the connection. Oh, autism. Oh, all these different childhood diseases. And so yeah, the whole correlation equals causation. Well, they can say, well, not everybody has that reaction, autism and Hashimoto's and whatever. So they can't say correlation equals causation because they really have to bring it back to the individual, which I could see that as a great argument when you're trying to absolve yourself from the responsibility of factoring into somebody's dis-ease. But when you look at the bigger picture, yes, someone with predispositions could trigger autism from those antibodies in the vaccines. It's not from the formaldehyde. It's not from the mercury, okay? People want to say, oh, the blood-brain barrier from the mercury and all that stuff. I'm telling you, that's not the issue around the vaccines. It's the antibodies that are programming your body to act in a specific way based upon the programming of those antibodies, okay? And then you also have other programming from the other antibodies because you're also a type AB positive. So when you're a type AB positive, that's surface marker antigen A, surface marker antigen B that triggers antibodies. So you now have some kind of autoimmune disorder when you're AB positive and then the Rh factor. But even those who are O negative, even those that are O negative will still have imbalances in their biochemistry because they have imbalances in their fatty acids, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. So I know someone that said they're O negative and they're very obese. Well, how is that? They're O negative. They should be like 100% healthy. I was O positive, so the only thing that I was positive for that I knew about in the military was the Rh factor. That was when I got my blood typed. We didn't know my blood type as a kid because they never typed us as a kid. But when I went into the military, they said, oh, yeah, you're O positive. That's your blood type. But imagine those that are AB positive. When you get together, everybody that's AB positive, and you go all get a titer test. Well, the thing with HIPAA is you're not supposed to know somebody's titer test result. You're not supposed to know their medical history. You know their medical history is based upon all the antibodies in their body causing all the different diseases, all the different autoimmune disorders, all the different, cancers and predispositions. And so it's so interesting, which I'm now like, whatever, because I know with me and my politics around the masks on my Jilly Juice LLC, whoo, I'm getting so much backlash around me just saying, like, is our mask society the new untouchables? When you're putting masks on your kids, are now they the new untouchables, the polluted people? And oh, I'm telling you, people are getting pissy around that because they think the masks are going to protect them. Oh, honey, you're wearing a mask and getting the vaccines. That mask ain't going to do shit for you. And then when you're around people who have been vaccinated, they're leaving their DNA everywhere. You can't, there's not enough sanitation in the world to stop these shedding from the new vaccinations. That's why it's so laughable at this point that I could almost be like, oh my God, it's like I just can't anymore. I really can't. And so, it's quite funny that those that have something to say about Jilly Juice are the ones that hold the most antibodies in their body through their blood types. So they're the ones that have the most predispositions, the most imbalances. And you almost have to just sit back and just be like, okay, it's your funeral. This is your birthday, your funeral. You can cry or you can laugh, you can do whatever. It's your world. But I'm telling you, wearing a mask and then now they're doing the whole vaccinations. Well, they're like, oh my God, Johnny, Billy, Susie passed away and he was wearing a mask. How did that happen? Oh my God, it's someone who didn't wear a mask that caused it. La, la, la. Or someone that wasn't vaccinated caused it. And really, the very thing that caused somebody's death that was wearing a mask and got vaccinations was the vaccinations and they wore the mask. See, that's the psychological operations you all are dealing with. And it's like you can't, it's to penetrate CNN and Fox is like penetrating, like a needle penetrating, well, it can't really, a metal surface. It just bends. It cannot penetrate the metal. And they've been doing this for a very long time, okay? The medical holistic industry. And so when I have these people who are holistic professionals who are herbalists on my Facebook who want to comment and want a sad face out of my stuff, and then I basically call them out. The thing that they go to defend their occupation, to defend all their detoxes so they can make money, you say, oh, where's the proof about regrowing your limbs. I want to read all about it in a nice, polite way. And I'm like, in my head, because I'm not even bothered to go back and forth. And in my head, I'm like, well, if you would stop promoting all your anti-parasitics and all of your detoxes and your pills and your powders and your supplements, maybe a person would have a half a chance to then express their prostaglandins and then let the blood flow in the areas that was dark, which is basically the amputations, and the person feels pain. And wow, maybe they might actually regrow if they can actually handle the healing process, the cell regeneration process. And so that's the psychological operations, and that's the circular reasoning behind those that want proof of the jelly juice. They don't want to look at science. They want to look at perception science, but factual science really doesn't exist for those that still are very under the spell of the medical holistic industry. And and that's unfortunate because, but then maybe that's meant to be. That's what I'm thinking. I think all of what's going on is meant to be. I don't love what Bill Gates is doing. I don't love that my husband's going to be affected by those that are vaccinated. He may be under, the contingency for him to have a CDL to get vaccinated. And I know that's coming. I know that's coming down the line. And I know he's not going to escape the adverse effects from it. And so, what can I do? So, but maybe it's meant to be out there that those that don't understand what these monoclonal antibodies will do, those that don't understand jelly juice, they've chosen their fate. And that's the thing. That's the logic around Mother Nature, is that she will give you all the options in the world, like she has. You only have a set of so many different chemical processes. You have to understand the elements, you have to understand the microbiome, you have to understand the biochemistry and biodiversity. Okay, so she gives you like 3 or 4 different sets of things to understand. And then we have the English language that tells you antibody, it's against the body, antibiotic, anti-life. Okay, antibody, antibiotic, it tells you exactly what it is, and there's probiotic, and there's salt and energy, and it's just, salt is not a drug, it's not a Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3 drug, whatever. And so yes, the English language and the Illuminati, the Freemasons, and Mother Nature gives you exactly the choices you have. Okay? And if you choose to mock my information, if you choose to not understand antibodies, if you choose to demonize the salt, demonize the healing process, then you've made your choice. There's really nothing that I could say or do, But I really, ultimately, why I do what I do is that I know some of you are on the fence. Some of you really know your gut. Your gut is healthy enough to know that there's something wrong and that you just need to explore more. Okay? You don't need somebody brainwashing you. You don't need somebody, trying to sell you on my information. But you really want to know more. And both of my books, the one that I re-released in 2018 and the one that's out right now, when you put them together, and yes, you're going to see me be anti-vaccine one and be more of a neutral stance about vaccines in my current book, because I'm trying to cater to the middle ground. But when you put them together, the pink salt and the white salt, yeah, you might have a very strict diet, and I tell you why the diet is what it is. And then now I'm saying there's no diet because you don't want to starve yourself. But I know some of you have, that B cell memory where food has been weaponized against you. But you're going to have to deal with the pain healing process. So if food has been weaponized against you, unless it's all the food, then stay away from some food, okay? And do the jelly juice, release and reprogram your body. Because really what the jelly juice does is it releases the excess T cells that is basically playing ping pong with your body, pinball, and then it reprograms your B cell memory so that way your innate immune system can go back to what Mother Nature intended. Not what these damn scientists who have been programming your B cell innate immune system intended, but what Mother Nature intended. 2 arms, 2 legs, eyes, a nose, a mouth, teeth, hair, skin, nails, 11 different systems that's supposed to function where you can protect yourself and have a very balanced biochemistry. And when you're in danger, your adrenaline comes in and gives you that rush of extra power to get out of a situation. And then you're back to nice and normal, no adrenalized type of stuff. So that's what you're supposed to be. As far as sexual orientation, it doesn't even matter at this point. When you are 100% well, you're basically going to be, your hormones regarding sexuality are going to be kind of chill. You may still have whatever your proclivities are, whatever that is, but you're not going to want to go and engage because it's not going to be necessary. You're the best copy, okay? And so your hormones, your sexual hormones are going to be really, really chill and very, very like calm. Because some people are a slave to their biochemistry. They're a slave to their hormones. They're a slave to their penis. They're a slave to their vagina. They're a slave to whatever. And everything they do is built around making sure those are getting satisfied. And at some point, you're going to have to get out of that, whatever that is. And that's unfortunate that there are cultures. And I was listening to a video last night about the roots of the cabal, and they come from the Phoenicians. They come from the Mediterranean, the Phoenicians and the Hittites that practice, human sacrifice, child sacrifice, and then also sexual stuff, like major sexual stuff. So yeah, we're kind of living in, I would say at this point, biologically, the end times, though there's always going to be cells that are going to still withstand the storm. That's why when people have cancer, even though parts of their body are dying, there's still parts of their body that are living. But what happens is everybody's connected to everybody. So even though that person dies from cancer, they still have friends and family that are still alive, surviving it. But then they're also on the same trajectory as that person, that predecessor. And so what the Jelly Juice aims to do is to reprogram your genetic history so you don't have to die from preventable diseases. That's the whole point of Jelly Juice, is now to express the life side of your immune system, not keep messing with and fiddling with the death side of your immune system, to create all this diversity that we see in our society. So, so understanding that the innate and the adaptive immune system is one half of your immune system, and then the prostaglandins are the other half. And yeah, I'm not looking forward to this future, but you do the best you can. Those that are on the Jelly Juice, thank God I have a Jelly Juice group. Thank God I have a Facebook. Thank God I have connections to all of you that are doing the J Juice, because you guys are going to be the ones to survive this onslaught. You will. Okay, despite what people say, I don't care at this point. I mean, I let people say what they say, the trolls on my business page. I don't care. They're going to have an opinion because people have opinions, really bad opinions on what they don't understand. And they won't make themselves understand because it's too far out for them. And of course, when you are under the spell of university, those are the hardest things to get through. But some of them might understand if they've studied science. They understand B cells and T cells, antigen and antibodies. You can program anything to be an antigen. You can program peanuts to be an antigen. You can program fish to be an antigen. You can program pollen. You can program your whole environment to be an antigen. You can program. That's why there's these crazy diseases where a kid has such skin issues that anything they touch, they start getting inflamed, like anything. So when you program, your innate immune system to basically defend against their current environment, this person has to live in a bubble, in a sanitized bubble. And then every single time the body is attacked because of the antibodies, because of their environment, they feel pain. That's like fibromyalgia. That's like the nerves, fibromyalgia. And so the only way that a person with fibromyalgia can kind of handle their life is to be taking something that anesthetize their immune system so they don't feel pain by suppressing the prostaglandins. When someone gets stabbed, when someone gets shot, first it's like shock, and then they feel the pain. First it feels warm, I think. I mean, I'm hearing what people say. But, and then they feel pain because the body is trying to now regenerate. Okay? That's why pain happens, because the body is trying to regenerate from the attack of whether it's blunt force trauma or from a gunshot wound, or from a knife wound, or from an accident, or from antibodies attacking you at the micro level. That's why pain exists, because the body is trying to evolve, adapt, and adaptation and evolution is relative to where you came from. And so, yeah, trying to get that across to people who just are full of antibodies. They know they're AB positive. And then you look at the titer test. You imagine them taking a titer test and test for everything, which is very expensive. Most people are not going to titer test for everything. But the doctors know all of your medical history, your medical records. They know. I haven't had medical insurance since a long time ago. I haven't seen a doctor since the last time I saw a doctor was back when we were in Arizona. When my husband, when he was still under depression, the doctors have some kind of wonderful powers. And he's like, you should go get checked. And I'm like, ugh. And so I did it, and then I was telling the doctor, I was just bitchy throughout the whole thing. And then done. And that was back in like 2012. Okay? That was the last time I seen a doctor, was 2012. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I haven't seen a doctor in 8 freaking years. I have not seen a doctor in 8 years. That ought to tell you something. I haven't been to a holistic store or an organic store or a health food store since 2017, 2018. Okay? I haven't given any money for supplements. I haven't given any money for detoxes. I haven't given any money for co-pays. I haven't given any money for any health insurance. Not a one. I pay car insurance, which part of my car insurance is medical payments. And medical payments is only for triage if I get into an accident. But then statistically, that's not going to really happen for me because I barely even drive. At this point, with all this lockdown, I have no reason to be in a car long distance because there's nowhere to go. Yeah, I can go to the woods and stuff. But at this point right now, I'm kind of very focused on understanding antibodies and getting my 3rd book written. That will be my last book. There won't be any more books after my 3rd book about the antibody deception. Okay, because that's going to basically encapsulate everything. And right now the world's going a little bit crazy, and we're heading into fall and winter. So yeah, I'm just really astounded by the turn of events. And so, if I can give you any advice, do the jelly juice, get my book. Do the jelly juice, get my book. Okay? So, yeah, get my book and do the jelly juice, because the only way that you're going to survive all this, the only way any of you are going to survive this is if you release the excess antibodies. And if you don't release the excess antibodies, they'll be swimming around your body playing pinball with everything in your body. And then, yeah, your kids are going to get affected. You're going to get affected. Your friends and family are going to get affected. And yeah, and then, yes, you're going to see premature death happen. So, whatever. Civil unrest is going to happen, yeah. And whatever. We'll figure it out. But remember, get your access to personal protection. And lay low. Lay low, fly under the radar. Don't be out there protesting. I don't know. Very interesting. All right, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.